Hello and welcome back to another video, and Happy New Year! I don't know if it's too late to say that or not, but this is my first video back in January, so we're going with it. Happy New Year, everybody. I actually have a confession to make. I filmed this video back in November and then edited about 95% of it, and then I ran out of time. Things happened, we got into December, and then I was just in full-on Christmas mode. So I am finishing it off for you today, and we're just going to kick off the new year with a very bookish video. So I did a 24-hour reading challenge. I pulled an all-nighter. I stayed awake for the full 24 hours and I read Wuthering Heights cover to cover for the first time ever. I've done this once before. I did it with Rebecca, and I think it's a really good way to read a book that I think is going to be very impactful. I loved reading Rebecca that way. I absolutely loved reading this way as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Good morning, you guys. I'm having to whisper at you because it's currently just a little bit past midnight. That is because in today's video I am starting a 24-hour reading challenge wherein I am going to attempt to read Wuthering Heights in 24 hours. I know lots of people do these kind of differently. Some people just set a timer every time they start reading and see how much they can read in 24 hours. Some people split it up and do 12 hours one day, 12 hours another day. Because I'm a lunatic, I like to do 24 hours of reading straight. I've done this once before. I posted a video where I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier in 24 hours, and I did manage to finish it. It was a success. It was a great way to experience that book for the first time. I remember it so clearly. So I'm going to do the same today with Wuthering Heights. So like I said, it's currently midnight and I've got until the following midnight to finish this book. Naps are allowed. There are basically no rules as long as I finish it inside the 24 hours. So let's start reading. We are 1 hour in, so it's 1 AM and I have read 23 pages. I don't know if that's fast or slow. It sounds slow to me, 23 pages in an hour, but obviously it's a classic, so I think it takes a little bit longer to read. You're not going to read it as fast as you would a modern book. I'm doing okay so far. I'm not too tired. I managed to go to bed at about 6 PM last night, and then obviously woke up just before midnight, so I have had a decent amount of sleep. So hopefully I can power through for a while before I need a nap. But yeah, I'm just going to carry on reading for a little bit. And obviously once everybody else wakes up, I will stop whispering at you and talk to you normally. It's 2 AM, so I'm 2 hours in and I've read 39 pages so far. I'm just about to start chapter 4. So Mr. Lockwood has just made it home from his first visit to Heathcliff, to Wuthering Heights. Obviously the first visit did not go well at all for Mr. Lockwood, but it's been very atmospheric so far. It's really icy and snowy and cold on the moors, so yeah, so far it seems like November is a great time to be reading this book. And it has been a little bit gothic-y with his nightmares about the ghosts, so enjoying, and I'll update you soon. It's hour 3, so it's 3 AM, and I'm on page 55. It's 4 AM, so we're on hour 4, and I'm on page 72, so I've just finished chapter 7, I think. The chapters are in Roman numerals, which I'm not very well versed in, but I think I'm just about to start chapter 8. I am very invested so far. A few chapters back, we switched narration from Mr. Lockwood, who we started with, and now it's being narrated by his servant, and she is telling Mr. Lockwood the story of Heathcliff and Cathy as they were children. So that's where we're at the minute. I'm interested to see, as the story progresses and as they get older, if we're going to switch narrators again or if it's going to stay the servant. I can only imagine we'll switch narrators again at some point, because surely she won't be able to tell the whole story of what happened, but yeah, we'll see. I was just about to say I'm surprisingly not tired, and then I started yawning. I think I look tired there in the viewfinder. I've got big circles. Anyway, it's hour 5, so 5 AM. I'm only on page 75. I've only read a few pages in the last hour because I had a little Sudoku break just to give my brain something different to think about, and I'm on the difficult puzzles in the book. Ooh. My camera's struggling with the low light. Yeah, I'm doing like difficult puzzles in my Sudoku book, so that took me like 40 minutes to do the Sudoku, and then I've just been mapping out the sort of family tree that we've seen in the story so far, just so that I can like better keep a tab on who's who, because I'm way less tired than I thought I was going to be. I think I managed to get like 6 hours sleep last night before I got up at midnight, so I'm actually doing okay, but you know, I'm not like 100% awake. So I've been mapping out the family tree to keep it in my head a bit together. Okay, so it's 6 AM, so we're on hour 6, and I've read 93 pages, but I've just hit one of the famous quotes, and I would have assumed that this one would have come later on in the story, like at the climax, but it's the one where Cathy says, "He's more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." I mean, obviously I know the quote, I've never read the book, but yeah, I assumed that this would come at the end at some sort of grand declaration of love, but we've got it super early on, and this is when Cathy is explaining why she's agreed to marry somebody else. But then she also says, talking about Heathcliff, "If all else perished and he remained, I should continue to be, and if all else remained and he were annihilated, the universe would turn into a mighty stranger. My love for Linton is like the foliage in the woods. Time will change it, I'm well aware, as winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Nelly, I am Heathcliff. He's always in my mind, not as a pleasure, any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. It's 8 o'clock, so we're on the 8th hour. It's so much lighter outside right now. It's still a little bit bluey. My camera's showing it as like pretty much daylight, but it's still kind of blue. Phone says sunrise at 8:26 a.m. and it's 8:05. So we've got apparently 20 minutes until official sunrise. And it's 5 degrees Celsius, so it's a bit of a chilly one, but it looks like there's no wind outside whatsoever. Like the water, the sea is flat and completely still. It's like a mirror. But the book I have been reading in the last hour, and I've been continuing on with my little diagram. I think I'm going to put myself together a little bit now because I feel like I'm looking really tired and I don't know what my hair's doing, but I kind of want to fix it. I think I'm gonna stay in my pajamas, but I'm gonna brush my teeth, splash some water on my face, get myself together a little bit, tidy up my hair, and then maybe have some more food. Are you ready to get up now? Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, look at your little butt. So it's 9 o'clock now. I've made myself a little cup of tea. I've got some dark chocolate digestives, which are the best digestives. If you don't know, get to know. These are the best. I don't normally have tea and biscuits at this time, but seeing as though I had my breakfast of leftover pizza at like 6 a.m, it feels like an appropriate time for my first cup of tea. The sun is properly rising now. It was obviously like mostly light at 8 a.m. Official sunrise was 8:30 when it started to peek over the horizon, but now it's just after 9. The sky's doing that like candy floss thing it does in winter where it's all like pale blues and pinks and it's really pretty out there. I might try and show you out the back window. But I'm just going to sit here and watch the view and read a bit more until I've done with my tea. Oh yeah, that's where I left off. I left off where Heathcliff has just come back to Thrushcroft Grange to see Cathy. It's like 3 years after he left and she's obviously married now and he's just come back to see her. So you get to find out what happens. Okay, reading update. I don't know why, I'm just gonna have to sort this fringe out later, I think. You're also gonna be my mirror for a little bit, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, reading update. It's 10:30. I'm 126 pages in, which I think, I've not done the maths, but just like looking at how far through the book I am, it looks like I'm a bit over a third of the way in, which I think is really good. I suppose the dangerous part is now is that I feel like I'm ahead of where I need to be, so I can relax a little bit and maybe do some other things. But I don't want to get too complacent and then fall behind and then be like rushing really late at night tonight. So where I'm at with the book, I don't know, like I said, this is my first time through reading. I've never watched any of the film adaptations of Wuthering Heights. Basically, I've only got the very loosest concept of the story in my head. Like, it wasn't one that we studied at school, and I don't know how it ends. I don't know where it's going. Right now, both Kathy and Heathcliff are not very likeable characters at all. And I don't know if that's kind of the point, that they're unlikable, whether there's gonna be like a character arc, like a redemption for them, or whether the point is that they're both unlikable and that's why they're kind of perfect together, or whether it's just all gonna end in a horrible mess, which I feel like maybe it will. And despite the fact that they're both really unlikable, I'm having a really good time reading it. And I will say, I don't know whether it's because I've read quite a few classics by this point. I feel like the first classics that I dove into on this sort of journey to expand my reading and read all of the classics, I started with Austen and really enjoyed them, but it took me a really long time to read the books. I know, like, Pride and Prejudice is a bigger book. It's a lot longer, so probably just naturally will take more time, but I felt like it took me a lot longer to read it. Like, I struggled with it a little bit more, and I found that I was having to reread some pages a couple of times to like really sink in the meaning and like what was happening. And sometimes with classics, what I would recommend is if you're having trouble following it in your head and you find that you're having to like reread sentences, I would always suggest just read it out loud. Partly because they're so lyrical, they're written in such a really beautiful way that reading them sounds like music and it flows like poetry. So it is just a joy to read it aloud and hear it aloud. But I also find that my brain takes it in a lot better when I'm reading it aloud, and I'll find that maybe if I was trying to read it in my head, there might be one sentence that I would get stuck on, and then I'd be like, oh, I didn't quite get that, or there was a word that I've never heard, or it was spelt differently, and it kind of disrupts my train of thought, so I'd have to go back and read it again. But when I read it out loud, I'll kind of flow through a paragraph or a page, and maybe if there was one sentence that I didn't fully understand, by the time I've reached the end of the page, I kind of got it in the context, and it does help me to get through them a lot better. So if you are wanting to dive into classics but you're finding it a little bit tough, I would definitely recommend start reading some aloud. But I'm finding that this one, like I said, I don't know if it's just because I've read quite a lot of classics at this point, this one I'm finding flows a bit more naturally and a bit easier. I'm like hitting a flow state reading it in my head where I can picture everything and I'm not looking at the words, I'm picturing it in my head, which I don't always get with classics, like I said, because they are written a lot differently to what we're used to now. But this one is much easier to like get into a flow state with and just sort of read it pretty effortlessly. So maybe, I don't know, give it a go, I would say. It might just be me, but maybe this is a really good classic to start with. Maybe it's just Emily Bronte's writing style. I don't know, but yeah, really enjoying. Isn't it nice to feel all put together for the day? For the day of just sitting at home. It's 11:30. I am gonna read for maybe half an hour to an hour, and then I think I'm probably gonna take myself out for a little walk. To be honest, I'm quite content to just sit here all day and read, but I think it might be nice to get some fresh air at some point this afternoon. It might perk me up because I'm actually surprisingly way less tired than I thought I was going to be by this point. But I think if I just stay like snuggled in a blanket all day, I think it's going to hit me at some point and I'm just going to get really, really sleepy. Okay, bear with me because I've got a very half-baked thought that I want to try and talk through. and work out. So it's 1 o'clock. I'm on page 150, which is at the beginning. I've just started chapter 13, if I'm getting my Roman numerals correct. I've just started chapter 13. And I'm at the part where Kathy and Linton and Heathcliff had the big argument, after which Kathy locked herself in a room and didn't eat for 3 days, and now she's having like a bit of a bad mental episode. But here's where I'm at. I have been kind of imagining Kathy as, I can't remember what her name is, but the actress who plays Effie in Skins, because I had a look this morning to see if there was a film adaptation for Wuthering Heights, and I was looking at the 2011 one, I think, and it looks like Kathy is played by that actress who played Effie in Skins. I don't know whether that association was already in my head from that, but yeah, reading this sort of, I don't know what we're going to call it, whatever mental breakdown Kathy is having in this really reminds me of what happened to Effie in Skins. And I think because I've been having that association in my brain of like Effie and the same actress, I've also kind of been imagining Heathcliff like Freddie, because I guess they are probably quite similar looking. And then I've been kind of wondering how much of that story arc is like loosely based on Wuthering Heights. And does that mean Cook is supposed to be Linton? And I don't really feel like Cook is like Linton at all. Maybe vaguely physically, with the light hair and the blue eyes. Character-wise, not really. I think Linton is a much more reserved, soft-spoken, agreeable kind of character than Cook was. But like, I feel like it's a similar dynamic. Is that just me? You've got Effie and Freddie, who are obviously in love with each other first, but for whatever reasons didn't end up together, like Kathy and Heathcliff. And then Effie ends up with Cook and Kathy ends up with Linton, but is obviously not very happy with, not completely happy with the situation, and obviously already quite predisposed to be mentally disturbed, and then ends up having this big crash out breakdown. Like, is it just me? I feel like I'm compounding the plot of Skins a little bit, but I feel like my mind has drawn that parallel and now I can't unsee it. So does anyone else see it? Has anyone else thought that? Is it confirmed? Is this Wuthering Heights the inspiration for that story arc? I don't know. Kind of feel like maybe it could have been. Wow. Oh. Yeah. The good and bad part about living somewhere so remote as this is that you can just go for a walk in your pyjama bottoms. I'm really trying not to make a habit out of not getting dressed. But yeah, I know, I just need to untangle this. But on days like today, I just can't see the point of getting dressed. To go for a little walk down the road to get undressed again. So this is what's happening. And just like that, we're back home. It's 2:10, which is actually a bit better for time than I was expecting. And it looks like it's just started spitting, so I came back in the nick of time, although my hair is somewhat way frizzier for our time outside. It's, if you imagine like a mix between Hermione Granger year 1 and Hagrid, it's sort of what I've got going on with my natural hair texture, which is a joy. Anyway, we're diving back in. I've got a cup of tea and some water, and we're going to try and have a big power hour of reading, see how much I can get through. It's 3:30. We don't have that much daylight left. The sun will be setting soon. I am on page 168 in this book. Around the halfway point, I guess, still. Isabella has written to Nellie to tell her like the full story of how bad it is, and Nellie's gone to visit, and we've just had the big sort of speech from Heathcliff about well, I mean, it's really just about how awful he is, isn't it? And I'm just at this point, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to be rooting for. It seems so far gone for all these people. They seem in such a terrible situation that there doesn't seem to be any way that it's going to get better or any salvation ahead. Obviously, for some of them, I would like for things to get better. But as far as Heathcliff and Cathy are concerned, I'm not really sure that I am rooting for a happy ending, you know? And like I said, I'm not sure it's possible because now they're both married. Obviously, in these times, that's done and dusted, isn't it? That's just how it is now. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I want to happen. I'm not rooting for any of them. And I'm interested, actually, if I do watch the film, to see how they interpreted it onto film. I mean, it says in this book, it was too disturbing for many tastes when it was first published. And it's a dark tale of love and loss, power and possession, action and terrifying reaction. Which, yeah, I can see how this would have been, like, really dark when it first came out. I'm interested to see in the film adaptation if they watered any of it down, because even by today's standards of action and violence in movies, I feel like if they put the characters, especially Heathcliff, in as he is in the book, it would have just been like a really depressing film to watch. And the thing with the dog, if you know, you know, I'd be really interested to see if they put that in the film or if they left that part out and just sort of skipped over it and made Heathcliff the more like morally grey character that you end up rooting for. Because in this, there's no greyness about it. He's just dark not a fun way. So yeah, basically, I don't know what I'm rooting for. Like, I'm not rooting for good things for most of them, apart from maybe Isabella to get out of this situation. I think it's one of them books where that's the point. The point is that there's not a happy ending, I feel, for this book. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to carry on. Okay, it's 4:30. I'm on page 186. I've just finished chapter 16. So Cathy has just passed away, which was sad, obviously. But the part that confused me was that at the beginning of the chapter, it says, about 12 o'clock that night was born the Catherine you saw at Wuthering Heights, a puny 7 months child, and 2 hours after the mother died, having never recovered sufficient consciousness to miss Heathcliff or know Edgar. So basically, on the night that Cathy dies, she gives birth to a daughter, which I was not even aware that she was pregnant. That was never mentioned. It's just she gave birth and then passed. I suppose there's the smallest chance they didn't know that she was pregnant, because sometimes I guess you don't really show, but it doesn't really narrate it as being a surprise. It's just, oh, she had a baby. So I'm not really sure. But also, I'm a bit squiffy on the timeline of events, but I feel like Cathy has been ill for a long time, like longer than 7 months. So it's a bit surprising that Edgar has still been sleeping with her. I don't know. Surprising. And I don't know how I feel about it. And I also don't know whether they knew that she was pregnant or not, because it's not been mentioned. But also it wasn't announced with shock. So I don't know. But let's read on. It's 7 o'clock, which means I'm on hour 19. I'm on page 229, just finished chapter 20, I believe. So I'm this far in. This is what I've got left to read. I'm on the part now where we're learning about the youngest generation. So I've been adding to my weird little family tree that I've been keeping track with. And we're learning about how Linton came back into the picture after his mother passed away, and I guess how that went for him. We know it doesn't go well because at the beginning of the book he's dead, and the youngest Catherine is stuck living with Heathcliff because she married him. So we know where it's going. We know it's not going to end well. I don't know what else I expected, to be honest, and I don't know whether we're now recounting this tale until we reach the point of the beginning of the story and that's going to be it and it's just going to be sad, or if we're going to go past the point of the start of the story. I can't see the point. I feel like we're just going to get to where the story began, come full circle, just to find out how it got there without a good resolution. So yeah, it is a pretty dark book. It's pretty sad, but I'm intrigued to find out the rest, so I'm gonna crack on and keep reading. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so I'm on hour 21 being awake, and I can't believe how not tired I am. Like, I am a little bit sleepy, but just like the regular amount of sleepy that I would normally be at 9 p.m. Not like I've been awake for 21 straight hours. I've not got long to go. I'm just trying to plow through this last bit because when I finished I can go to sleep, although it might take me at least another hour, maybe 2, to get through that much. All I can say right now is Linton, the youngest Linton, is so annoying. I don't think I've ever read a book where so many of the characters are so unlikable, but I suppose maybe that's the point. Also, the youngest Catherine, she's not as annoying as Linton, but she is frustrating because I feel like so many of these characters' problems throughout the generations could have been avoided if they just listened to the elder people in their family. But I guess there's a hubris that comes with being 17 that probably still existed back then, where you think you know better and they all think they know better, and it goes horribly wrong. And we know this is going to go horribly wrong, and now I'm just watching it happen. So that's fun, isn't it? It's 10 p.m, so I'm on hour 22. It is storming outside. The wind is so loud. Just finished page 300. So I'm about to do, I think I'm just about to start chapter 28. That's the Roman numeral. I think that's 28, isn't it? We're still not quite at the point where the book starts, but we're very nearly there. It's just been a bit like, just sad watching especially this bit unfold, because the rest of it, obviously, like, you know, in the vaguest sense that it's not going to end well, but like this generation, or these 2 youngest ones, we know exactly how it finishes. So we're just reading through this long drawn out process, watching it get there, knowing that it's not going to have a nice ending. And it's just been like so frustrating. You just want to shake them all and just shake some sense into them. Anyway, what I'm hoping at this point is that we're going to recount this sad tale and then jump back into present day, and maybe Mr. Lockwood can go and rescue the young Cathy from her miserable situation at Wuthering Heights. I feel like that's the closest towards a happy ending that we can get at this point, but I don't even know if we're going to get that, because it's not been good so far. Everything's been so tragic. I wouldn't be surprised if it has an equally tragic ending, or if it just gets back to the start and then finishes. I don't know, but we'll see how I'll push on. I finished it. It is 5 minutes past midnight, and I am done. I have been awake for a full 24 hours. I'm gonna have to give you a full debrief tomorrow because everyone's asleep and I don't want to be too loud. Yeah, I'll give you a full debrief of my thoughts tomorrow, but I will say two things. One, for the second half of this book, I don't know why, I've been imagining Heathcliff as Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. I don't know why, it just popped into my head and then I couldn't unsee it. And two, after this whole book recounting this sad tale to Mr. Lockwood, he basically goes, oh well, and then leaves and just moves on with his life. Like, okay. But yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep now. And I will talk to you in the morning. Okay, so I never got round to filming my final thoughts on the video in November, so I thought I would give you my summary now that I've had a few months to reflect on this book. I thought it was phenomenal, and I still do, although it is a pretty harrowing read. I'm pretty sure I said, but I went into this not really knowing anything about the plot. So for the first maybe third of the book, I was expecting it to loop around to a happy ending, and I kept thinking, like, we're getting further and further away from that possibility happening. And then I think about halfway in I realised that I don't think this is going to have a happy ending. So I would say yes, I definitely recommend that you read this book, but go into it with the right expectations. I think if you go into this book expecting it to be like an Austen novel and to be a romance and to have a happy ending, you might struggle with it and you might be a bit disappointed or shocked by how sad it is. But I think if you know sort of what you're letting yourself in for, because it's not a romance at all, but I think if you know what you're getting into, I think you can have a really, a good time sounds wrong because it is a sad story, but it is a very, very good book to read. It's just full of these incredibly complex, complicated characters that most of the time are just downright unlikable, and it's set against the backdrop of the harsh wilderness of the Yorkshire moors, and it's the perfect winter read if you read seasonally like I do and you're looking for a classic to read in January and February. I would definitely recommend. It spans the 3 whole generations, so it is just this absolute masterclass on the cycle of violence and aggression that can be passed down through the generations and how children can grow up to be exactly the same as the adults that they once hated so much. So my favourite quote from the book is the only quote that I had heard before I started reading, which is, "He's more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same." It's still my favourite quote, I think, now that I've read the whole book. That is the best line, but I think because that's the only quote that I'd heard from this book, I think that's why I was expecting it to be a romance. Would I reread this book? I think yes, but I'm not in a hurry to reread it. I think there's lots of other wintry classic books that I will get to. I think at some point, maybe in a few years, I would like to reread it. I think I do really like making time to reread books, especially over a few years, because I like to see how my impressions and thoughts on them change, and it kind of is a good marker for me to see how I have grown or evolved or how my feelings change over the years. So I think maybe at some point in a few years' time I will give this one a reread and sort of know what I'm getting myself in for. Would I watch the movie, the new one that's coming out? I did realise that there's, I think it was a 2011 movie adaptation of Wuthering Heights, which I've not watched yet. I do want to watch that one. That one looks a little bit more book accurate just from the stills I've seen of the movie, so I'm definitely going to watch that one. The new one that's coming out, I don't know. I think I'm going to watch a few trailers. I think I might also wait for other people to watch it and see the reviews to get the kind of feeling of if it's something that you can enjoy as a separate thing to the book, or if it's just going to be far too annoying and they've just absolutely butchered it. I'm not sure. The jury's still out onto whether I'm going to watch that or not. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And come and chat to me in the comments. Let me know if you've read Wuthering Heights, if you liked it or if you found it a little bit too dark for you. And if you haven't read it, let me know if I have inspired you to read it. I definitely think you should.